In this video, we are going to talk about Jasmy, some of its recent price action, the important support and resistance areas, and where we can expect the price of Jasmy to go in the next few days and weeks. So we will be looking at the weekly chart, and what you can see here is this trend line that I've drawn in previous videos. This is a trend line that has held for the last few months, since late 2025 basically. Jasmy has been in this downtrend. Really, it has been in a downtrend since November of 2024, but more specifically since late 2025 we've seen Jasmy hold onto this trend line and it continuously getting rejected off of it, most recently back in May of this year. And we also have this support area that Jasmy is at right now. Basically exactly, this has been a very important area of support for Jasmy. We've seen it get support from there back in February, as well as back in the October liquidation event, as well as much earlier back in 2024 and 2023. So this seems to be a very crucial area of support for Jasmy, and it is currently trying to hold on to it. In my opinion, it is actually quite likely that it will manage to hold on to it once again and get a relief rally, because as I said, it is a very crucial area of support. And also we have seen Bitcoin reach a very crucial area of support, that is 60k, and Bitcoin actually already managed to get some relief from there. We've seen it get support from there back in February, and it went all the way up to 82k, and more recently it went to 60k, and it is now back up at around 65k. I think that Bitcoin will likely continue this relief rally probably to around 70k or so. This seems like the most likely scenario in my opinion. I think that Bitcoin will probably create another lower high and continue its downtrend. And if Bitcoin does manage to get a bit more of a relief rally and get to about 70k, then it is actually quite likely for Jasmy to follow it and get another lower high as well and head all the way up to this trend line to around 0.0065. Also guys, if you are enjoying these videos and you want more updates about Jasmy, if you're getting any value from these, make sure to subscribe. It helps the channel a lot and it allows me to continue making these videos. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, and now let's continue with the analysis of Jasmy. So as I said, with Bitcoin I am expecting it to create another lower high, and then from there I expect it to get rejected off of that area of about 70k or so, and then eventually get all the way back down to 60k and probably break down below it. I do expect it to eventually get two new lows for this bear market and head below 60k. I think that we are still most likely in a bear market despite some of the recent rallies by Bitcoin. It is still very clearly in a downtrend, and I would expect most of 2026 really to be a bear market here at the very least. Could even potentially go on for longer than that. And with Jasmy, as I said, I would expect it to get back up to this trend line, but then get rejected off of it similarly to Bitcoin, and then probably continue to dump lower, and just like with Bitcoin, break down below its area of support and probably start to create new lows and head all the way back down to the area of support that we've seen Jasmy at back in 2023 at around 0.003. This is actually a very crucial area of support for Jasmy, basically the all-time low, and it is also a very strong area of support for Jasmy. So I think that it will most likely head back down to that area sometime in the coming months. It doesn't have to happen very quickly. It could take a while for it to get there, but I think that it will eventually likely get there as we get deeper into this bear market, as Bitcoin dumps below 60k. And also I have to mention that there is a bit of a caveat. Even if Bitcoin does manage to rally all the way up to 70k, it doesn't actually guarantee that Jasmy rallies all the way up to the trend line, because we've already seen Bitcoin get all the way up to 65k and Jasmy didn't really rally. So it's not guaranteed whatsoever. I do think it's quite likely, but it doesn't necessarily have to happen. And if Jasmy actually closes a weekly candle below this area of support that it's at right now, then it could actually just continue dumping from there right away and head all the way back down to the next area of support at the all-time low, a lot quicker than I said initially. It is also a possible scenario. I just think that it's probably a bit less likely in the short term. And also we have to mention, as I said before, that since 2024 Jasmy has been in a very brutal downtrend. It really hasn't gotten any significant highs, and its structure is still very poor. And I think that eventually, as we continue into this bear market, it will probably at the very least get all the way down to its all-time low, and actually quite likely even break down below it. I think that it's not unlikely at all for it to create new all-time lows this cycle. And I think that since we are most likely still in a bear market, and we will continue to be in one for many more months, Jasmy will continue to perform very poorly. In general, most altcoins underperform Bitcoin in bear markets and perform very poorly. That's what historically happens. And with Jasmy, its structure is not horrible. I have definitely seen some altcoins with worse structures, but it's really not great at all. And I would expect it to not perform very well going further into 2026. And in general, I'm quite pessimistic about altcoins. As I said, historically, for us to see altcoins performing well, we first need to see Bitcoin getting to new all-time highs and Ethereum following it. And currently this is very far away from being the scenario in the market. So I think that the chances of an altcoin season anytime soon are very slim to none. Basically, in bear markets, it is basically unheard of to get a sustained long-term altcoin season, and I really doubt that it's going to happen this time either. So at the moment, I would be very cautious with Jasmy as well as with most altcoins in general. I would only consider being into some altcoins very selectively in small amounts and have very clear exit signals, whether it is selling at a profit or at a loss. Of course, this isn't financial advice whatsoever, but that's what I personally think, and I'm quite pessimistic about Jasmy, honestly, and I think that it will take a very long time before we can even really consider Jasmy starting to perform very well and potentially outperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum. Really, Jasmy has been performing very poorly since 2021. Jasmy is one of those altcoins that has been performing absolutely incredibly back in the altcoin season of 2021, but since then, in the bear market following it in 2022, it has been performing absolutely horribly and got a very devastating rally, and it will probably not get to new all-time highs for many more years, and potentially even never at all. Also, I will mention that last time Jasmy was at this area, it got a very significant rally back in January of 2024. It was at a very similar area to where it is at right now, and then it got a very significant rally all the way up to 0.057, a rally of more than 10x. This time, this seems incredibly unlikely to happen again, and I would definitely not expect it whatsoever. In my opinion, the first signal for a potential turn reversal by Jasmy is if it manages to cross this trend line at around 0.007. If it has managed to do that and close a weekly candle above it, then that could be a very strong signal that Jasmy is getting a turn reversal, but at the moment it seems very unlikely for me to happen. But of course, I will keep making videos about Jasmy and updating you guys, so make sure to subscribe to not miss that out, and I will be on the lookout for Jasmy. That's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it and you want more updates, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.